Welcome, Noel, Lois, and the rest. Now, our tradition, we've picked a tradition to always open with a poem. And so we will welcome Dr. Lucita, the poetess, and that is Nancy Mora. Welcome, Nancy.
Beautiful morning. Today I would like to start with a challenge. I would like to challenge all of us to take a moment and to thank someone close to you. Someone, be it a friend, a relative, a spouse, a colleague, because our poem today is about gratitude. So gratitude, bountiful bouquet of gratitude. If not for one, nothing for a substitute. Life of hope to other destitute. Pain reshared for a resolute. Appreciate the attitude. Climb up the fortitude with gratitude. Lonely, you have not borne the burden. Salient silently in a team burden, cohesion could be hidden, never lost in the purity of a maiden. In materialism, could look mundane, old, closer, far, and even children. Climb up the ladder with gratitude. Darkness never covers light. Weaknesses overcome might. Strive for the path of the right. Non-congruence, don't fight. Off the radar, erase light. Always keep it upright. Walk up the path with gratitude. Be grateful for the past. Acknowledge the present. Be grateful for the future. For the friends who left, for the friends who are still there, for the friends who are to come, for the spouses that you have, for the colleagues that you have, for the people that you live with. Be grateful. Learn to say asante. Always say thank you muno. Don't forget to say kongoi, and then you say erokamano, and then don't you forget to say buyamono. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. And now, in relation to today's discussion, I have two quotes. One is from the Bible, Ecclesiastes 11, verse 2, that says, "Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. That's one version. Another version says you do not know which one will work. And then the next one is from another book I just bought the other day. It's called Psychology of Money. And there is a quote here by the author. The author is called Jason Zweig. Says, 2 things will always affect you whether you are involved in them or not. That is money and health. Thank you very much. At this moment, I will call Noel to introduce Power Monday to people who don't know, and also to introduce the speaker and talk about the speaker briefly. Then welcome the speaker. Noel Hassandi.
Thank you so much. My internet is a bit unstable, but thank God that I've managed to log in. So Power Monday, basically Power Monday is a forum that we have every Monday morning. We meet every Monday morning, apart from holidays, Kenyan holidays. Yes, apart from Kenyan holidays. We meet from 7:15 a.m. until 8:15 a.m. just to discuss about leadership and empower each other. So today we have a speaker, and this guy, I have heard him speak not once, not twice. When he speaks about money, trust me, your relationship with money is going to change. He is a dentist, turn to wealth and career coach for early stage healthcare professionals and SME owners. He is the one and only Dr. Melvin D'Lima. He's also a competent Toastmaster who writes and delivers speeches, toasts, and eulogies. He has authored 2 short stories titled Boxing Day at the Club and A Walk in the Light, both of which have been published in an anthology of short stories and poems titled Unfurling. He has written numerous poems which are yet unpublished. Today, he will be talking to us on wealth creation, how to grow active and passive income. Karibu sana, Dr. Melvin D'Lima.
Thank you so much, Noel, for that very interesting and colorful introduction. I am humbled to be here today, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being on this forum, and I'm grateful to be a part of this great country and a part of this great world. So today, if you will allow me to share my screen, so you're now seeing it.
Yeah, we can see it.
So let me start. I start off the slideshow.
Yeah, try slideshow.
From the beginning.
Good. There
so
you
in the beginning there was a word, and the word became flesh. So now you have my presentation in the flesh. So I hope we'll go through this fairly rapidly, but let us consider this to be a discussion where we will learn from each other. The topic for today is wealth creation, and this is a wonderful topic for the beginning of the year. And we are going to discuss how to grow active and passive income. Moving quickly, if I could encapsulate this whole talk in just one slide, this would be that slide. How do we get wealthy? The first thing is start early. Secondly, spend less than you earn. And thirdly, is invest well. So this business of starting early, most of us start earning the minute we are through with our formal education. Either we're through with secondary school or with college or university, or your second degree, or even your third degree. But somewhere along the line, we learn, as OPP teaches us in his books, to be hustlers. In other words, we've got a way of earning some extra income just to make purchases and to get into the whole money cycle. So as we said, you need to save and you need to spend out of these earnings. So a little savings, little by little, and a little becomes a lot, right? Now the rule of thumb is that one is supposed to save about 20% of your income. We shall be coming to this later, but out of those investments, one is supposed to invest. And there's something called the power of compounding, where interest, let's say interest is calculated on a daily basis. So today you have saved 100 shillings. Tomorrow, that 100 shillings has become 100.1 shillings. So the day after tomorrow, you are going to earn interest on 100.1 shillings. And over a number of years, so assume you start working at the age of 18 or 22, over a number of years, that interest on your savings will be compounded and can achieve quite a bit of money at the end of your working life. So that is about the power of compounding in creating wealth. So today I'm going to be talking about active income and passive income. And there are a number of terminologies which I shall be exploring so that you get a hang of it. Now, Noel has been through a program of mine called the Wealth Mastery course. And after Noel's cohort, I have dealt with very many other cohorts. And I find that the struggle seems to be around generating an active income in a very orderly fashion, which is sustainable and which is giving you a profit and which is allowing you to save and invest. Because there's a tendency to spend and overspend, but we'll come to that later. Moving on to the next slide. I put this slide here to show you what I mean by the money cycle. Everybody is supposed to generate revenue. And as Otieno Paul Peter said, one needs to have about 7 different revenue streams. Okay, some of which, and he was talking about active revenue streams, but there could also be, you could also include the passive revenue streams. So typically, I like saying that everybody has 5 fingers on a hand. There's your core business. Then there's your core business should be your major revenue generator, and then you've got subsidiary businesses which emerge out of your core business. One of which could be training, like Dr. Jebichi. Another one could be creating events and generating an income out of those events. Then you could be of service to your industry, and there's another one which seems to be escaping me right now, but there are 4 income streams which just come out or emerge from your core income stream. So remember, you should always be thinking about how you can generate more money from these 5 income streams, and if possible, increase them to 7. So after generating that income, you need to spend for your needs. So there's a difference between needs and wants. So a want is something that is good to have, like a new car, like a new fridge, like a new cooker. That's a want, which you plan for. You will save for it and buy it when you have enough money for it. You will not, as most of us are wont to do, you will not borrow to buy a want, or you should not borrow to buy a want, even though those loans might be given to you very easily by your employer. Your employer might decide to give you a loan to buy a car, knowing that you're going to be stuck with that, repaying that loan, and you're stuck with that employer. That's not a good place to be. So make sure you have money for your needs, and your needs include things like your rent, your healthcare, your food, your clothes, and items like that. Now, out of that, I said, out of your revenues, you should aim at saving 20%. And I forgot to mention that since we're in a Christian forum, out of your revenue, the first thing that you should take out is your tithe. If you're not a Christian, you can take out that 10% of tithe and give it, donate it to a charitable cause. Now, besides that tithe, also take out your tax. Take out your tax. and the rest you will have to budget for it. And included in that budget is saving. Now, besides saving, you need to manage risk. Now, there's a risk in just being present in this world. So you could have an accident, your house could catch on fire, somebody could steal your laptop. So you need to manage risk. And risk is managed by minimizing the risk so that you keep your laptop in a safe place. And also by buying some insurance for it. So everybody needs to take a life insurance policy. Everybody needs to insure their house and personal effects. And if you're a professional like Dr. Tess Kangede or Dr. Jebichi, you will need what's called a professional indemnity insurance. So your risk management needs expand as your business becomes more complex. So for example, let me take the example of Noel, who runs a company called Big Shoes. So she has to ensure that her shoes are not stolen, they don't catch on fire. And all of this requires minimizing the risk and maybe taking out an insurance policy for those things. Now, additionally, one is supposed to invest. And I like telling participants in my talks that the first investment that you should make is in yourself. And it gave me great pleasure to notice Dr. Tess Kangede this morning, because Dr. Tess, in her first year of business, invested in upskilling herself in a branch of dentistry. And if you allow her at some point, she will tell you that she has already recouped the investment that she made in that training. So remember, we are in continuous self-improvement mode. I'm very happy to see that my coach, Dr. Jebichi, is in the room, because I and others among us here, we always need a second opinion. We always need a coach or a mentor. So somebody like Jebichi or Otieno Paul Peter, it's good to bounce ideas off them. But when you're bouncing ideas off them, remember, you have to invest in yourself, and you will have to pay some of these people. And then having invested, there's also in yourself, you also invest in passive sources of income. So for example, you could invest your money in a circle. You could also invest your money in shares, in government bonds, in commodities. There are several investment vehicles which will be earning you an interest while you are asleep. So this increases your revenue, and then you'll enter the cycle again. But I think this is a very good graphic just to explain this cycle.
Melvin, you muted yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that it's the objective of every individual. Once they start life on their own, they've left their parents' home, is that they seek financial security. And this is a continuous process. We are always trying to look for financial security. And financial security stands on 3 pillars. And the most important pillar is yourself. You right there in the middle, which is why I said you need to invest in yourself. And you need to keep on changing your mindset. I think Otieno Paul Peter referred to the psychology of money. You know, all these old habits that we had with money, which are learned from our families, from our peers, and from social media, we need to keep on unlearning, relearning, and learning afresh new ideas around money and around financial security. So keep working on yourself. Now, the other pillar is called pools of accumulation, where you save your money. Okay, so you save your money in a bank account, you'll save your money in a SACCO, you'll save your money in a place where it is readily available to you, like even a money market fund, what we call a unit trust. That's a pool of accumulation where the money is fairly easily accessible. And then the other pillar is called the pillar of money multipliers, where the money is earning you an interest higher than what you would earn in a simple savings account. Did you know, for example, that the money that the interest that you earn on a savings account is 4% on the balance at the end of the year? So does it make any sense keeping your money in a savings account? No. I would rather that you put it in a place where the money is multiplying. So we have certain wealth management funds, we have government bonds, we have shares, which sometimes appreciate, but sometimes fall down in price. So these are things that I teach routinely. And for you to be financially secure, you need to be working on all these 3 pillars at the same time. So that's my take-home message to you. And now we are going to have a poll, which will be conducted by Otieno Paul Peter.
There it is. I hope you're seeing it.
Yes. So as a way of interacting with you, I'd like you to just answer these questions.
Yeah, so let's end it there.
Okay.
And now I'm sharing the result.
Yeah.
What's the age bracket here? Majority above 35.
Yeah.
And employed,
okay.
Self-employed. Yes.
Okay. Let's hold it there. Let's hold it there.
Okay.
Now, so it would appear that the majority of people in this call are above 35 years old.
Yes.
So this is the demographic that needs to very urgently to unlearn and relearn and learn some new lessons. Now, the ones who are between 18 to 35, I deal a lot with them. And I find that they are very absorbed in improving their skills, in upskilling, in both soft and hard skills. And most of them are trying to get hard skills and trying to forget, not trying, but they are ignoring the soft skills. Now, in the marketplace, as you'll agree with me, Otieno Paul Peter, one needs a mixture of both. And it's in fact your soft skills, or your what we call your emotional quotient, your EQ and your adversity quotient needs to be upped. It's not just your intelligence quotient, but also your social quotient, your emotional quotient, and your adversity quotient. In other words, the way you handle adversity. We need to up those numbers between 18 to 35. But the good news is that those numbers should also be upped for those who are beyond 35. So let's look at the second one. Just tell us, I can see here that.
Yeah, it's about the employed, self-employed, more or less the same number, 49% and 45%, and then a few others are in business. But of course, we know, I thought we ought to have put another option. I know there are people who are employed, but also running some little business beside, so that can be taken care of.
Exactly. So let us assume, or Otieno Paul Peter, that employed or employed or not, everybody is, not everybody, but a large proportion of people are in some form of business. And we note that there are only, is it 6%? 6% of us are in a business with 5 or more employees.
Yeah.
We'll be visiting Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants in a little while, but let's move to the next one. The next.
So those with the bank accounts, one, they are the 18%, 47% have 2, that is the majority. And then a couple others, 35% have more than 2.
Right. So now this is actually not a very good indicator, okay? Because most of us are involved in a business or a side hustle of some sort. And the majority of us seem to have, 65% of us have just 1 or 2 accounts. Now, when you're running a business, you need what's called a check-in account, and you need some other subsidiary accounts, one of which is tax, one of which is for operating expenses, one of which is for owner's pay. There are 5 different accounts. And I would recommend that you read a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, who tells you how to apportion the revenues which are coming into your checking account. Now let's look at the fourth question.
So the fourth question is whether you have shares or fixed income securities in Kenya, and 43% yes, 57% no.
Okay, so now I want to echo the sentiments of President William Ruto, who is encouraging Kenyans to invest in the stock exchange, okay? The government itself also provides opportunities for you to invest in fixed income securities from its bonds. And these bonds are the infrastructure bonds, which are long-term, and then they are the short-term bonds. One needs to learn about these things. You need to simply take a walk down to the central bank or visit their website, and you learn about government securities. You need to visit the website of the Nairobi Stock Exchange and learn about them. And why limit yourself to stocks and bonds in this country? You could also be investing in companies outside Kenya. So please learn about these things. Now, the final question is, do you hold cryptocurrency?
Yeah,
And
6% yes, 94% no.
Okay, so only 6% of us have cryptocurrency, and this is something that you need to think about. Do not be alarmed by the fall in the price of Bitcoin, for example, because cryptocurrency is the way of the future, and you will notice this as you do a bit of research and due diligence. So thank you very much for sharing your insights on where you are right now. This helps me to understand you a lot better. Now, everybody has read or should read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And at the center of that whole book is this idea of cash flow quadrants. And we have seen now that some of us are in business. In fact, very few of us are employing more than 5 people. Those are the ones in business. Most of us are on the left-hand side. We are employed or self-employed. But I put it to you that you can also be an investor, even at this stage. In fact, the good news is that the Nairobi Stock Exchange is introducing something called fractional shares. So which means you can buy a fraction of a share at a fraction of the price, so that you have no excuse. You have no excuse for not investing in the stock exchange, in companies which are well run, okay, and which are probably better run than your own company. I say this tongue in cheek, but to be listed on the stock exchange, you need to fulfill certain criteria. Your company has to have proper accounts, it has to be in profit-making territory, blah, blah, blah. So those companies which are listed on the stock exchange are being run a little bit better than our own small businesses in which we are self-employed. So there are a number of terms. This is a very busy slide, and I know some of you will hate it, but I just decided to throw in a couple of terms here. So on one side, I put personal finance, and on the other side, business finance. Now, you are at the heart of your income generation and wealth management activities. So I like to concentrate on personal finance. You must budget. If you're married, you would want to budget with your spouse. Please make a budget. There are several formulas out there. I teach some of them. Now, one participant today contacted me and told me that debt is a major problem for him. And indeed, I'm told that young ladies are going into debt, into bad debt very easily, because young ladies and young men, and even older ones, we are trying to finance a lifestyle. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We want to appear in church in smart clothes, in smart shoes. And when we don't have the money, we borrow from microfinance institutions, from Fuliza and from M-Shwari and all those things. And this puts us in the red. So debt management is a whole different topic for another day. But I personally like to recommend something called a snowballing technique for getting out of debt. More about that later when and if you engage with me. Now, The other thing about personal finance, as I have mentioned, is saving and investing. And one can invest in unit trusts, which are what we call money market funds, and equity funds, which are available from many asset managers, including insurance companies. Then there are bonds, which are issued by the government, and there are stocks at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and there's cryptocurrency. As I said, knowledge is power. Before you go into crypto, make sure you know everything about it. The internet is your friend. Research about it, make sure you're dealing with proper exchanges, make sure your passwords are protected and all that sort of thing. And then I left this one for the last. You should be in a circle. Okay? You should be in a circle where you'll be saving your money, and every year you get a dividend. So I personally am a member of the Kenya Medical Association circle. They require us to save every month. It helps you as well in being disciplined in your saving efforts. Now, when we come to business finance, I said one book that you must read. It's called Profit First. Read it and apply those principles. The other thing is pricing. Make sure that you don't outprice yourself, and make sure that you're pricing yourself for profit, where you're putting in, or rather you're factoring direct costs, indirect costs, and tax. As part of business finance, you should be having a strategic plan. Now that we're in a new year, you should have a strategic plan in which you lay out your goals for this particular year. And this strategic plan should be accompanied with a budget. And for your business, you need to be saving for what we call capital expenditure. Maybe, like Dr. Tess, you want to buy a piece of equipment for your clinic, which costs you 3 million shillings, and which you may not have readily. You need to be saving towards that. Or you need to be saving towards a deposit and extra finance for the balance. And as I said, your business also needs to be investing. So invest in your people, invest in yourself, and invest in stocks, in bonds, in trusts, in crypto. Your business can do that. Your business is another person. So let's move on. Are there any questions at this particular point in time?
Yes, there are questions.
Yeah. Put your questions in.
I'd like to start with those ones in the chat.
Yeah.
Somebody started by asking, what if your needs are higher than your income? Food, shelter, school fees, all are consuming your income. How do you save what you don't have? Then she said, asking for a friend. That's a question. all of us come across that question every other time. Just in December, when we were running some team building and we were asked to talk about finance. And many of those people were saying, no, we are being paid too little. We cannot save. So you can touch on that briefly, noting that time is also running.
Right. Okay. There's no easy fix for that problem. The truth is, if you're spending more than you're saving, you need to make some drastic cuts in your spending. So for example, if you're staying in an area where the rent is very high, you need to move out. If you find that most of your spending is on impulse buying, so this is a problem with ladies in particular. They're walking along the street, they see shoes, they see handbags, and they want to pick them up. So they will use money which was supposed to be for saving to buy a new pair of shoes, which will give them some momentary happiness. Okay, so this will involve some radical cuts in the way you spend. That's my take about it. The other thing that one should do is that what happens is that many of us are shy of what we call, what are these things called? You know, where you instruct your bank that every month so much money should be going to this particular unit trust, or this particular investment. It's called what do we call it? Otieno Paul Peter.
Which one?
We call it a standing instruction.
Standing order.
Standing order. So that your bank will, as soon as your money comes into the bank, on a certain date, it's going to send a certain portion to a savings account, to a money market fund, so that you don't have it in your hand. Because when it's in your hand, it's tempting. So that's my response to that one. Do we have another question, Otieno Paul?
Yeah, we do. Maybe I can also say that, remember, I love saying this. If you're earning 20,000, for example, there is somebody who is earning 15 and managing, and your needs will grow with your income, always. Somebody earning 1 million shillings and somebody earning 10,000, at the end of the month, they are both of them don't have money if they have saving habit. So let's know that it's not about the amount we earn. It's how we relate with that money and what are our money habits. So somebody asked also, good morning. Some of us are in the ministry working. I don't know whether that is a question or that is just a statement to monetize what we do to earn. I don't know, Martha, would you like to ask that question? You can unmute and ask that question. I don't know if it is a question.
Actually, when we were doing the poll, I do ministry. I don't run a business, nor do I have a sole business. So I'm asking, how do we, because my major source of funding is donations. So how do we do all this? How do we manage these funds and do all this I'm being taught? Because I'm very broke, I want money.
Right. So what I've understood Martha to be telling us is that she's in some Christian ministry, right? And this ministry has to be self-sustaining, otherwise it will close down. And she as a minister also needs to manage the money which comes to the ministry for herself and for the ministry prudently. Now, I would do exactly what Profit First recommends, which is budget, stick to the budget, and monitor your spending, saving, and investing. I think we'll have to side chat with her later on. Is there another question?
Let me say, Martha, that we said you need to have 7 or 8 sources of income. It seems you are only looking at one. Number 2, also there is salary. When you are relying on donation, there is budget, as Dr. Melvin has said, and that budget should also include salary for facilitating. They cannot donate for other people and not the person facilitating. So you need to manage that salary. But as Dr. Melvin says, you will chat more. Now, the next one, can you share? How do you classify retirees? Yes, Christian Sadia, you wanted to say something. You can unmute and say.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Melvin. I just wanted to find in the classification when we were doing the poll, there were some segments perhaps that were not captured, like my sister Martha said she's in the ministry. There are those that are not in self-employment, you can't qualify them as employment. They are sporadic, they come sporadically like consultancies, which comes like once in a year. How do you then quantify them?
Yeah, so now actually we didn't have a category for those kind of workers who are actually specialists, who are sought after very not very frequently, but what those kind of workers need to be doing is they need to be planning to have saved enough money to take them for that period of the year when they don't have a job. So what they'll do is they'll take their monthly expenses, and let's say they've got 12 months of monthly expenses sitting somewhere in an emergency fund to cover the emergency of not having a job at that time. I think that's my response. I forgot to mention that out of your savings, included in your savings, you must have what we call an emergency fund. You must have what we call an opportunity fund, and you must have what we call a sinking fund. A sinking fund is if you have an adverse event, somebody steals your phone, for example, or your laptop. That's money which has been lost and has to be paid for immediately. So that's what I'd say. Can we go to the next question? I think we're running out of time.
Yeah, okay. Somebody said that there is a lot of misinformation about cryptocurrency. You may want to share where they can read more, something authentic, what they can believe. And then there is also somebody who's asked that they've not heard you talk about treasury bills. I think you did. And then there is also, how risky is it to trade in indices? You can handle those ones.
Okay. So let me just, I didn't mention treasury bills. It escaped me. Treasury bills are short-term government instruments, which where the money is invested for a short term of 3 months to 6 months. Okay. About indices, indices are things. They're things which are in what is it called? Every stock exchange has an index, and it's a more refined form of investment. You would have to really understand the stock exchange properly before you go in. So if you go in there unschooled or uneducated, you might burn your fingers. Okay. There are also things which are called derivatives, which I can't go into right now. Is there another question which I've left out?
Okay, there was that issue of crypto. Do you have any book people can refer?
Actually, you'll just have to go on the internet. I can't give you a book right off the bat right now. But
okay, thank you. So the last one in this line is, how do you budget for newfound impulse businesses? I don't know what that means. Maybe if you don't understand it, Christine, you can say what you mean. I don't know what that means.
What I mean is just like you found a new business which is quite catchy, like and it's a new income stream you want to generate. and it's just come on the market. Like you see, when I'll give an example of when the quail business came in and everybody was jumping into the quail. How do you budget for those impulse businesses just suddenly come on the line, and you hadn't put that in your strategy planning at the beginning of the year?
Okay, what I'd like to say is that anything which is not related to your core business, okay, and which you do not understand, and whose financials and financial projections you have not had the opportunity to study, keep away from it. So understanding is key. So I would really like you to, if those impulse businesses, just because your friend is making money out of an M-Pesa shop, don't dive into it, because you need to leverage on your talents, on your skills, and your experience when going into any business. If it is outside that circle, keep well away from it.
Thank you. There is one which I seem to have left, but I understand what you mean, and I've interacted with very many people who jumped into businesses, lost, and then came back to their core business. So it's good to have clear understanding of what business you're getting into. There is what we call BOP, business opportunity presentation, which always looks lucrative. Please get into the details. The last one, which I think I've seen now, is if you want to diversify investment, stock savings, specifically, how do you apportion the investments? How do you apportion the investments?
Right. What I want to agree with the one who asked the question, that you need a diversified portfolio of investments. So make sure that you're in a stock exchange or stock exchanges. Make sure you've got some government securities. Now, government securities, you need a basic minimum of 100,000 shillings, okay? These are for shares, you don't need a 100,000. You need a certain amount of money. So you look at how much you have saved up to now. And what I would do is I would take about 50%, 50 to 75% of what you currently have saved and invest it in government securities, in SACCOs, in shares. That's my thinking, but I am going to read around this a little bit more, and I can get back to you if you leave your name with OPP and the team.
Is there an ideal number of investments somebody can get into?
It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody, but
thank you.
As you grow, you'll work it out.
Okay, go on. You close.
Oh, okay, so now in ending, I want to leave you with a call to action. You can opt to call me. I think Otieno Paul Peter will be typing my number in the chat. You can decide after that call to join a class which I run called a wealth mastery class. You must learn. Your takeaway from today is that you must manage risk, you must have an emergency fund, you must have an opportunity fund, and you must have a sinking fund. If you are in debt, because there are two types of debt, good debt and bad debt, get out of bad debt. I recommend the snowballing technique for getting out of bad debt. This you can Google, snowballing. Then finally, diversify your portfolio, your investment portfolio. And remember that the majority of you are below the age of 35. You should be investing in a pension fund. So you should be in a pension scheme somewhere. even if you're self-employed. Because one day you will not have the energy to do what you're doing right now. Then I recommend that for every individual on this call, the reason you're here is because you're interested in developing your finances. You must have what's called a trust fund. A trust fund will handle expenses for the future generation. Okay? Now, you can decide to do all of this by yourself, which is do it yourself, or you can opt for hand-holding. Now, there are a number of us in this particular business. Otieno Paul Peter is one of them, and I'm one of them. And there may be others on this call. Get in touch with us. My number is, if you're writing, 0.
I've put it in the chat. I've put the number in the chat.
So I've put, okay, thank you so much. So yeah. I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to talk to you. You can follow me on LinkedIn because I talk regularly about money matters, and I have a newsletter called Money Matters. So just keep in touch with me, and let's keep interacting in Power Monday and outside there. So with those few words, I think I'm done, Otieno Paul Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Melvin. You can unshare now, and I will call one of us to give a vote of thanks. We have Odhiambo Olale. Odhiambo Olale, you can give a vote of thanks to our friends.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Before I
morning.
give the vote of thanks, now that I've been given the platform, I must say that you have done a wonderful job. I was just saying that one of my favorite, my take-home quote from you is, let your money work for you when you're asleep. How many of us want to do that? Asante sana. Other than that, I want to thank you again, Dr. Melvin, for a very good presentation. And I'm sure all of us have learned something new. And for those who want to get in touch with you, please feel free to get in touch. And we take this conversation to the next level. Other than that, thanks so much for attending.
Thank you. Great. So get to know that we always discuss this, and we have a WhatsApp platform. You can join us. I've put the contacts in the chat.